up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to talk to you guys about boundaries and how to maintain celibacy. So if you want my 4 major tips on how to maintain celibacy, just keep watching. All right, y'all, let's jump right in. I'm super excited to talk to you guys about this just because it's crazy how certain parts of your life you're kind of like, oh, nobody cares about that. But so many of you guys asked about how Reggie and I maintained our celibacy journey all throughout our dating. So we were celibate for the 7 years that we were dating together. And I was a virgin for 25 years before I got married. And then, yeah, I'm not a virgin anymore. But I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this because I feel like people think it's a mystical thing about boundaries and how to maintain celibacy, but it's actually super, super practical. And so I'm excited to talk with you guys about this. So if you haven't watched our last video, this is gonna be like an extension of our no sex before marriage video. And if you wanna watch that, I'll definitely link it in the comments. I mean, not the comments, in the description down below. But basically, we just discussed our celibacy journey, how we got to where we were, and now this is an extension of that, kind of discussing boundaries and what we did to maintain that celibacy. So one big thing that I tell my friends or the people that I talk to who are trying to maintain their celibacy journey is to be very upfront and honest with the person that they are choosing to be with or date from the very start. So my style, and this is my style, you don't have to follow this, but one thing that really helped me was when I first started dating someone, and you can ask Reggie, he will literally tell you that I said this. When I first started dating someone, on the first date, which sounds really scary, but on the first date, I would be like, hey, just want to let you know that being celibate and maintaining my purity, and following that through until marriage and throughout marriage is really important to me. So I'm not having sex with anyone until I'm married. So just wanted to put that out there and wanted to be honest with you. Don't want to waste your time, don't want to waste my time. So if that works for you, awesome. If not, like, we can definitely move forward as just being friends and go our separate ways. And some people are like, a lot of my friends were like, Jasmine, like, you let them know that from the very beginning. But my answer is yes. Like, why would I want to waste someone's time having a man think that I'm going to have sex with him on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th date, and then 5 years down the road he's like resentful because he's like, well, you haven't had sex with me, and I didn't give him boundaries or let him know that that was what was going on. And same for like men with women, but I'm just speaking for myself because I'm a woman. I think that that is the kindest thing that you can do for someone, is to be honest and upfront with them, because if that's not their same values and if that's not kind of the road that they want to travel down, then maybe that's not the person for you. Hello, right? So that would be my first big boundary. Just letting the person know upfront what you're trying to accomplish, and you can quickly see if that person is on the same page as you or not. The second big thing is communication. So I feel like this can be awkward the first time you do it, but as you date someone and get to know them more, it became easier and easier for Reggie and I to communicate with each other when we felt like our closeness was too much, if you will. So when I say communication, I'm mainly talking about in the moment. Like, maybe you're not even kissing. Maybe you're just sitting on the couch, watching a movie, hanging out, talking with the person. It's turning to that person and being like, hey, right now I'm feeling a little horny, or hey, we're kissing right now and this is a little much for me. I don't know if I can contain myself. When you are communicating with your partner and significant other and being honest with them about, whoa, this is getting a little too intense, or whoa, this is getting a little too heated, which, newsflash, that's very natural because that we're meant to crave that type of intimacy. Like, it's very natural, and it's okay if you get horny sometimes or if things get heated. But it's being able to stop what you're doing and communicate in the moment and be like, hey, I don't think I can handle this. And Reggie and I, from the start, we knew from the very beginning, like, we're not just gonna fluff it up and play like, oh, we're strong enough to get through whatever scenario that we're in. No, if something got too intense or something got too passionate, whether we were kissing, whether we were, you know, kind of cuddled up on the couch watching a movie, if something became too intense for us, we were never too high-minded to be like, pump the brakes, we need to take a breather, and we can reconvene later. I think there's so much power in that communication and vulnerability and honesty. And honestly, I feel like it really builds, it can really help to build further intimacy when you communicate and you're honest in that way and not feeling like you're too holier than thou to admit that you're horny in some situations. Can I get an amen? You know what I'm saying? Okay, the next thing, I really love this one because I felt like on my celibacy journey, it started out as no sex before marriage, but it evolved into this one thing that I'm gonna talk about. But basically, it's making purity a lifestyle. And what I mean by that is purity is not just, I am not having sex before marriage. I always thought that, and for many years I thought that. Even with me being in the church and all that stuff, I thought that is what purity meant. But purity is really meant to be a lifestyle. So whatever I listen to, whatever I watch, I'm shielding myself and guarding my eyes, I'm guarding my ears to make sure that I'm not falling into the trap of, oh, okay, I'm watching this movie and it seems innocent because there's this one sex scene, but it's really quick, but no big deal. Oh, I'm listening to this music that's talking about this guy having sex with this girl or doing whatever or whatever. And it's not affecting me because it has a good beat. No, I'm encouraging you guys and honestly, really calling you out in this because I needed to be called out in this. Reggie needed to be called out in this. Purity is a lifestyle. We have to be more careful about what we listen to, what we watch, because that stuff subconsciously affects us. Like obviously Reggie is a fine black man. I am a beautiful black woman. Like we love each other. When we were dating, we were attracted to each other. We're attracted to each other now. So at the end of the day, you can't be naive to the fact that those things that you're watching, those things that you're listening to, especially if you have a very strong sexual desire, that those things can feed that sexual desire and cause you to fall into even more temptation that is honestly unnecessary. Like if you just shielded your eyes, if you shielded your ears, you would be much further along and you wouldn't feel like you're being tempted on all sides because you're taking those parameters to put up those boundaries to protect your eyes, your ears, your heart, and all of that stuff. Because again, we are not immune to the enemy's tactics. So he uses everything. Like don't get it twisted. Just because you aren't having sex, you better believe that he's going to try to put whatever in front of your eyes, put whatever music into your ears so that you can get that fix in some way, shape, or form to fuel that sexual desire that leads you down a path that you don't want to go down. So I just encourage you to make purity a lifestyle, making sure that you're operating in and listening to and watching and operating in what God has called you to do. Like being led by the Holy Spirit in what you listen to and what you watch and how you move. It will help a ton in helping you be successful on your celibacy journey. That is something that has really helped us. And I know that's why we've been so successful. Okay, I really love this one. I guess this is not necessarily a personality test, but I'm into like personality tests and love language tests and all that stuff. But one big boundary that we put up, and I feel like is really helpful, is knowing your partner's love language. And I'm sure you're like, Jasmine, what are you talking about? How is that necessarily a boundary? Well, if you're able to know your partner's love language, you're able to fill up their cup, especially their intimacy cup, in a different way than sex. So for example, one of my love languages is gifts. One of Reggie's love languages is words of affirmation. So in other ways, even though we were not having sex, we were always making sure that Reggie, was really great at giving me gifts, or it can be big or small. And then I was always really good at giving him words of affirmation, encouraging him, lifting him up through words so that he feels, and I felt like we were able to grow in intimacy in other ways, AKA emotionally, rather than having to feel like we needed sex to grow our intimacy. Because I feel like when you know your partner's love language and when you're able to operate in that way, it helps to actually minimize the sexual cravings. Like, you don't feel like you need sex to fill up your intimacy tank. No, no, no. If you are emotionally aware and filling up your partner's emotional intimacy tank, it helps to mitigate those sexual cravings. And I feel like that was one really helpful boundary. And we kind of figured this out later on in our relationship, but that was one really helpful boundary that Reggie and I helped to put up and helped to be really intentional about in our relationship, so that it wasn't so tough on us when we weren't having sex. We didn't feel like we were lacking because we weren't having sex. Like, we were already really built up emotionally together. And so I highly encourage you, I think you can just Google love language test, and I highly encourage you and your partner to do that together to kind of figure that out. And you will be surprised at how much more fulfilled you feel just by the simple fact that you know your partner's love language and they know yours, and they're acting in that way to fill up your love tank with your love language. So yeah, I highly encourage that. The last boundary, if you will, that really helped Reggie and I is just getting really clear on what the ultimate goal is. So I feel like a lot of people, sometimes they choose to be celibate and not to have sex because their mom told them not to, or their church told them not to, or whatever, which, just being honest, is not sustainable in any way, shape, or form. But really, celibacy is about becoming more like Christ. And if your chief aim and your chief goal is to become more like Christ and rely on him and operate in his will and what he would have for you, and your partner is doing the same, then it makes celibacy a lot easier. It's not, oh, I'm just withholding sex because X, Y, and Z, I'm just not supposed to have sex. It's so much deeper and so much more fulfilling knowing, no, my aim is to operate in the will of God and to please him in my actions and be obedient to what he has called me to do. When both of you guys are operating on that level and both of you guys' perspective and focus is on Christ, it makes it so much easier, and it's like iron sharpening iron. So it, again, like I was saying before, if there are moments where things are getting intense or one of you is feeling more hornier than the other, when you guys have the same chief aim and chief goal of operating in the will of God, then you guys will be able to step up. If one of you is feeling weak, another one of you can be like, hey babe, love you, but you know, this is our goal, this is what we're focused on. Let's remember that, and let's continue to operate in purity because that's God's will for our life. And it's just like what we talked about in our unequally yoked episode. When you guys aren't on the same page and you guys don't have the same goal, like if your partner, let's just say your partner is dedicated to a life of celibacy and purity, but you, on the other hand, you're like, sure, I'll be celibate because my partner said that he or she is celibate, but I don't really care. There's gonna be a lot of hiccups, and it's gonna be a lot harder for you to maintain that celibacy when you guys are not on the same page. So I encourage you to have that conversation with your partner and get real about, okay, what is our goal here? Because if you guys don't have the same goals, I'm not saying that you should break up, but that's a serious conversation that you need to have so that you guys are building each other up instead of tearing each other down. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that was really all the boundary tips that I have for maintaining celibacy. Let me know in the comments down below if you found this helpful, if you have some celibacy tips of your own that you've operated in that have really helped you in your journey. I would love to know that. But I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful that we can talk about things that matter and real things that can really help you and help me. So I love you guys so much. I can't wait to see you in my next video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye guys.